I like this time of year because there's overwhelming optimism. There's overwhelming goodwill in most of these teams, most of these players, most of these situations, offenses, defenses, changes. And Dak Prescott is one of those, right? He's back at it in Frisco for the first time since he injured his hamstring. That feels like 17,000 years ago. It was actually back in November. Brian Schottenheimer, their new head coach, I've said a lot about him these past couple of months, only via the conduit that is his players, people around him, and getting to talk to him for like 10 minutes at owners' meetings down in Palm Beach. But he spoke this weekend, and there was a lot about him over the weekend because his words maybe were not chosen super carefully in the world of crazy Cowboys fans and passionate Dak detractors. I'll say they came out of the woodwork. They had a field day like moths to a flame. Okay. I'd like you to listen to what was actually said in full context here on the show when Coach Brian Schottenheimer was actually asked if this was a developmental year for the backup Joe Milton.
I think they all are. I mean, I think Dak is in the developmental phase, and that sounds crazy for a guy that's played that much, but like there's things that we're tweaking with Dak, so I don't think it's just for Joe. Joe is a guy that we obviously know all about the talent, but, the system that he came from in Tennessee, created some challenges in terms of just what he has to learn and things like that. But the minute these quarterbacks think that they've figured it all out, that's when it's probably time for them to think about doing something different.
The words developmental phase, that was I think this is one of those things that it happened now and he's going to know not to say, he knows not to say that, not because it's not true but just that people are going to take that and run with it and say, oh my gosh, he's in year of a million of his career. How could that be possible? So the phrasing developmental phase is not going to sit well with people, especially with people who want to clown on Dak. But I feel like what he meant, I'm into. I like that this is the approach by the coaching staff. A coach should be pushing his quarterback to develop him regardless of how long he's been in the league. Like, you should always be trying to get better and better. And the venom's going to come, and he deserves it for being the quarterback who has a star on his helmet and for their lack of playoff success. Like, that is earned. Dak knows that. Everyone knows that. And it is up to Dak and Shotty to rewrite the narrative at some point. Can we stop acting like he hasn't done anything, though? That would be my one point, right? This is a winner. This is someone who has 4 double-digit wins, winning seasons in his career, 12 wins in his last healthy year. He led the league in touchdowns while he was doing that. So he hasn't done nothing. He hasn't really maybe performed to his potential. I'm so excited to ask a legend, Phil Simms, about that. But my next guest, Phil Simms, had just as many playoff wins as Dak going into his 31-year-old season before what happened. Phil went and ran the table, and he won Super Bowl MVP that year, okay? Breeze, I always use Breeze as this example. Like, is Breeze so much of an anomaly? No. Breeze won his Super Bowl at 31. Why is he not an anomaly? Because Matt Ryan earned his MVP at the same age. Matthew Stafford didn't get his ring until he turned 33. Dak's story is far from over. So I'm excited to see what this new regime looks like. The energy seems great. And I think I like the Cowboys more than most, Kevin Clark included, of ESPN fame. So he'll be here to join us and talk about that. If you're looking at the sports book, let's pull up these numbers. Hamilton put this together. Okay. Dak tied for 14th in MVP odds at plus 4,000. So he's behind Caleb, he's behind Love, he's behind Mayfield. I would just say last healthy season, just over a year ago, he finished second in MVP voting behind Lamar. Do we forget? We forget. I don't know why I know we all forgot, because I forgot. I forgot that until this morning. Second in MVP voting behind Lamar. So it's a pretty big return for a guy who's already come this close. And now he's got George Pickens, who Deshaun Jackson said was a bigger, not upgrade, will make more of an impact than even Debo in that same division. Tough division, tough sledding, but I like what's going on FanDuel Sportsbook.